Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, second preview of the season. Start as we mean to go on, mate. Positivity only from the Villa Filler boys. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I think you're right. All optimism has died a painful death already, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So we're here to get the train, back through the gears, get us excited. I think it's good that we're coming back to Villa Park. I think that's needed.
Yeah.
I think there's always, regardless of how everything's going, it's hard not to feel upbeat when you're on your way to Villa Park for the first time in a new season. I won't be there, unfortunately.
Damn.
I'm watching Salford Crew Alexandra.
Are you working?
I'm not, believe it or
Oh,
not. This is voluntary. This is
biggest
voluntary.
shock of the podcast.
Yeah, I know. So obviously Villa kick off at 12:30 before. Surprisingly, Salford Crew's not been selected for TV. Surprises me that. Can you believe it? But we've got family and stuff coming up and everything like that. So unfortunately, I can't make this one. I am going Salford Crew though. So any Salford or Crew people in the comments, they've sort of got a dual fan thing going on. Hit me up because I will be there. So unfortunately, I'll be on the telly for this one. But yeah, very excited for everyone that's getting down to Villa Park.
It's a sticky one, really, mate. Because I think before the season, you look at the first five. You've got what? You've got Everton, obviously coming up. We've had Bournemouth. Obviously, that was not as easy as people anticipated. I think we've got Crystal Palace away following this. Then we've got Arsenal. Really, really difficult games. There's a Carabao Cup tie against Bolton that's now been thrown in the mix there as well from the week commencing the 22nd of August. I was optimistic for the first five. I was, and I think Arsenal will prove to be the first test, the first serious test, I should say. And then when you look, we follow that with Manchester City and a really difficult run of games, to be quite honest. But I'm worried. I am a little bit worried, guys. I've got to say, I've sat on the Bournemouth performance a lot, and I think we didn't actually address Gerrard's comments, and things have kind of been cleared up and not. And I guess we may get into that in a bit, mate. But my thing with the performance against Bournemouth was, I don't think anybody knew what their roles were or what they were supposed to be doing or how to execute them, because I referred glowingly to the average positions of the fullbacks in the last podcast, and I did forget to put the graphic on. It's kind of a running gag, but I did link them in the description for you guys to have a look. And I was really happy about the position that Kashi and Dean was in. But as somebody correctly pointed out in the comments, Villa had much more luck last season when we actually approached games much more conservatively, and Dean and Kashi found themselves being a bit more reserved and not playing within themselves, but obviously I think they understood the roles and they kind of picked the moments when they attacked. So, but my issue with that, if the fullbacks are going to bomb on, that's great, but your three midfielders they got to sit deep. And I mean, I don't really know what John McGinn and Jacob Ramsey were doing. And Coutinho, if you look at the average positions, I'm not even going to bother saying I'll put it on the screen because you guys know I won't. But there's on the left, you've got Luca Dean. I'm going to try and make this so you guys can see. You've got Luca Dean here. You've got John McGinn, Philippe Coutinho, Jacob Ramsey, Danny Ings, way off. They're all there. No wonder we didn't score a bloody goal. The players don't seem to understand the system. And that's quite alarming given the fact we've had a pre-season. And, we've reflected on it and we spoke about it. And pre-season may not have been as good as we thought. And I'm worried, man. I'm worried because you look at this Everton side and things are fairly tragic. They've just signed Connor Cody, though. I think that's a very good signing. You get him and Tarkowski as a centre-back pairing. Arguably one of the strongest within the sort of the rest of the 14 teams outside the top six. But Everton, they didn't look that tragic against Chelsea, to be fair, mate. They really made Chelsea work for the 3 points. I don't know about this one. I'm hoping that this is going to be like a repeat of last year, mate, where it's like a Leon Bailey masterclass and And I think people before the game were probably a little bit worried, but then, we kind of win it convincingly, or at least the scoreline portrayed it that way. And hopefully we can get a bit of momentum towards the start. But I'm not feeling as optimistic as I probably was a week and a half ago.
Yeah, man. It's a difficult one. I like the Cody deal. On the whole, I think my only question would be how easily he can transition from playing in a 5-back to a 4-back, and quite a suspect 4-back at that. That would be my only question mark over the deal. But on a loan, I think it's a pretty risk-free deal, and it would be interesting. I think obviously he's a good player, and you back him to make that switch. But that would be my only sort of lingering doubt about that deal. You know what, mate? I'm going to mix things up. Normally, we go for the prediction right at the very end, but I'm going to go in straight with it now. I think this has got 0-0 plastered all over it. And I really hate to be that guy. Yeah, I do. I think both sides going forward are just useless. I just don't. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think this has got really low scoring written all over it. I would probably, if I had to pick a side to win, I'd say us because we're at home. Obviously, it's Gerrard against Lampard. This is an angle which
shut up. I
mate,
don't want to hear it.
This is
for the first
like
time as well.
It is. That's what I was. It's for the first time. There's probably a little bit of needle between the two, I would say.
You think?
Yeah. I do. I don't know. I think that not in like, it's going to come to blows, but like they both want to get the one up on each other. I think neither have exactly convinced massively in their English managerial careers, at least. And so I think we have to improve. I've seen a lot of fans and stuff saying they want to see Douglas Luiz and Kamara in the pivot. Forget it. John McGinn will play. There is no way on earth that Stephen Gerrard is going to make that much upheaval in pre-season, remove the captaincy from Tyrone Mings to bench John McGinn after one game. There is no way. It will be John McGinn. Tyrone Mings won't start. Despite what people want. I don't think we will see wholesale changes.
Are you telling me that Kane Kesler-Hayden's not going to start at right back?
I have a feeling it might be.
Are you telling me Cameron Archer's not going to start, mate?
I am unfortunately saying that as well.
Are you saying that Timo Rokaboonam is not going to start, mate?
I know. I've been backing Robin Olsen between the sticks, but someone tells me we might not see that either. Yeah, I'm sorry, Villa fans. Stevie has proved at the best of times he's not a man for massive upheaval week by week. It will be Coutinho. It will be John McGinn. It will be Conser or Chambers. Maybe you could see Chambers come in there. But I think it will be largely copy and paste, bar one or two positions maybe from Bournemouth. And you know what? To be fair to Stevie, I think he made a good point in this post-match. He made a point that all of us forgot. And he went, let's not forget, the players that we put out were by far and away capable of beating Bournemouth. It's very easy in hindsight to say that, Tyrone Mings should have started and everything like this, but pound for pound on paper, we should have beaten Bournemouth easily. And pound for pound on paper, you should say we should probably beat Everton as well, regardless of who starts within reason. And so,
is that not part of the problem? Games aren't won on paper.
100%.
It's a mentality thing.
Yes, I totally agree. And that's where Stevie does come into question. But in from the lineup point of view, you sort of go that, yeah, right, that is a championship team, and we should be beating them. Obviously, we didn't, and that you're right, mate. That's where it all comes into question. And I'd like to think that we've gone back to the drawing board. I don't think there needs to be massive upheaval or heads need to be band together. It is one game. If we go and win this game by a couple of goals, Bournemouth is forgotten, and suddenly the season starts then, and it's all sunshine and rainbows. But if we lose this game, mate, my God, are we in I'm not going to say we're in trouble because we've lost 2 games, but we are going from rock bottom, place 1, right from the start all over again.
Are you telling me that Ludwig Augustinsson is not going to start?
Unfortunately not. I think he's got to look at Bolton away, unfortunately, Ludwig, for a first start.
It is. Now, there's been a lot that's been said about Steven Gerrard's comments, and I think it's only fair to talk about them. And I made a tweet about it afterwards, and it all kind of came out after we'd recorded, hadn't it, mate? The sort of, he needs to look me in the eyes and all this kind of stuff. And Steve Herman of BBC WN, shout out to Steve, he kind of pointed me into the direction of the piece in question, because he shot that interview. So, you know, credit to Steve for getting the scoop. And it, to be fair, it doesn't sound as bad when you listen to it. And then it's kind of came out that Tyrone has a bit of a groin injury. Then it begs the question, why is he on the bench? Honestly, mate, I am still of the opinion that there was no need for him to phrase it as he did. Didn't, you know, telling him Tyrone needs to look him in the eye and tell him he's ready. Like, that's despicable, man. That's some Dr. Evil shit. I'm sorry. Like, that's like, what kind of supervillain do you think you are, Stevie? He's going some way in trying to alienate himself. And I've thought, and it really bothers me, mate. And it really, you guys know I went to that charity night with Tyrone, and he spoke so glowingly and with such pride and admiration and just happiness for being able to represent this fine footballing institution and be the captain. And he truly understands the weight and the responsibility of the job that he undertook. And that's why this decision didn't sit right with me in the first place. And that's why it continues to not sit right with me, mate, because, and you guys know, we love Tyrone Mings on this podcast. We really do. And I'm sick of having to constantly defend the bloke, not necessarily just to like with Villa fans, but to other fans as well. You know, I've had my mates texting me all week, what's up with Tyrone Mings, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I'm sick of explaining it. Like, we know Tyrone has his issues, and we you know, that's not something that we shy away from, is it, Dan? We know that Tyrone has a blunder, or to everybody, that the whole country knows that. It's Tyrone Mings, it's unfortunate, but for me, what this man represents on and off the pitch, and just the way he conducts himself, he's the captain. Now, I don't want to make too many rash calls or whatever, because, you know, we kind of spoke about the whole captaincy thing before, so I feel like I'm almost treading over like old news. But and we said, Dan, that the idea of a captain has changed, and almost, and we feel that John McGinn has been given it in a way that Grealish was, to sort of rise to it, but he ain't a captain. Guinea ain't a captain. And if this has affected Tyrone as much as it seems to have, where he has completely dropped off the face of the earth in terms of Aston Villa and a starting position, I'm quite worried for him, like on a personal level. Do you know what I mean? I think he's really struggling. And to speak about a captain falling out of favour, mate, Connor Cody, Bruno Lage, it's almost play for play, mate. Didn't really want to play him last season. Felt like he had to. Found himself towards the bench a few times towards the latter end of the season. And at the first opportunity he had this season, what does he do? He benches him. Now he's found himself at Everton. Vultures are circling, mate. West Ham want Tyrone, apparently. This club sniffing. And I'm not happy, mate. I'm sad. This is we've gone off preview territory here, but it really bothers me, because, like, I posted the photo of me and Tyrone again, just because I
love
tagged
that
him, because
I love it.
People don't realise how tall I am. There's only about an inch between me and Tyrone. I'll let you know where that inch is, but
not where it matters, mate. Not where it matters.
Exactly. Exactly. Tyrone's got a tiny cock.
And that, like, ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe. Like, that's the wrap.
I'll tell you how big all the Villa players' dicks are, guys. Don't worry. But like, I posted that photo and I added it. I'm not a big fan of people atting players, like, obviously with negative things. But I hope Tyrone saw it, and I hope he remembered the rock paper scissors. Not rock paper scissors. It's fucking doors and wheels. I've gone off on such a tangent, but I just love the bloke, and I'm devastated he's not going to start. I know he's not going to start, but this like it's not very often, right? You get people who are actually like decent at football because Tyrone's decent at football. He's decent. He's not unreal, but he's decent. And like a decent bloke. I don't know. He's just one of the good guys. That's just how I view it. And I've had some people say to me, mate, you don't move forward with this kind of sentimentality. I don't think that we get into Europe with the current centre-back pairing that played the other day. I don't think any centre-back pairing we have gets us into Europe. So I don't think it really matters all that much, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I don't think you're going off on too much of a tangent in terms of preview, mate, because the Tyrone dialogue has basically dominated the post-match.
Well, yeah.
And I will say that I think Stevie was speaking out of frustration. I think he was obviously angered by. I'm not saying any of this condones it, but I'm just thinking, had that been a pre-match, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like with a clear head and without all the emotions of we were all pretty sick of that game. Maybe he phrases it differently, and I don't think it's as. I think it's more of a phrasing issue rather than necessarily a reflection of the situation. And so I don't know where I stand quite on the matter, to be honest with you. I like, pre-season, Tyrone didn't play as well as, in my opinion, as the other centre-backs. I think he probably had, he didn't have a bad pre-season. It's just all of the other centre-backs probably did something that stood out to me a little bit more than Tyrone did. So to be honest with you, regardless of the captain thing, I think it was interesting to see that back line. Obviously, if we lose the game, automatically questions are raised. And so I don't really know where exactly I stand on that. And as we get further into the season, I think we'll probably get a better picture. But you know what, mate? I think to bring some positivity to this podcast, I'm going to hit you with some stats that might just suggest that maybe we don't need to be so worried about who's going to be playing at the back for the Villa, because Everton have failed to score in each of their previous 3 away games against the Villa. They've attempted 38 shots in those 3 games, and they haven't scored a goal. And we are actually the only side that they've faced in any of the past 3 seasons that they've not scored against away from home. And even one better than that, since we returned to the Premier League, what was that, 2019, we're actually unbeaten in all 6 of the games we've played against Everton, winning 4, drawing 2. They're actually the only side we've faced in all 3 seasons since we've been promoted that we haven't lost against.
But they
won. Yeah, obviously.
1-0 Everton, 90 plus 3, Gordon.
They didn't travel very well away from home last season. They won just 2 away games from their 18. They lost 13 of those. But it's a sort of the opposite of immovable object against an unstoppable force. Is that the saying?
I think
it's like the opposite of that, because we've won just 2 of our last 10 home games in the Premier League. So it's like these 2 negative forces rather than 2 positive ones. And it's just what gives first. But those 2 first stats, mate, they don't score at Villa Park. The stats will tell you. And we haven't lost to them since we came back up. Everton always feels like a big game, doesn't it? It's because of founders of the Football League. It's the most played Premier League fixture. It just sort of adds a bit of something. I don't want to say an edge, because it's not like where we played Newcastle, where there's been a rivalry that's manufactured out of nowhere. But it always feels quite a special fixture. Feels like we always get quite momentous happenings when this fixture is played, especially at Villa Park. The first season, you think that amazing. It was our first victory back in the Premier League. The Wesley goal, El Ghazi's 90th, it was 190th minute, but it felt like it. And then obviously last season, you touched on it, mate. You had the Bailey goals and everything like that. Luca Dean actually scored for Villa in that game, so maybe he's going to do us a favour and get another one.
Yeah.
Obviously, he scored it as an Everton player, but he scored for Villa. So there is always something quite magic about Everton. I think we would all prefer it to be under the lights. That feels big to me. If it was under the lights, maybe I'd fancy it a bit more. But it's a 12:30 kickoff. The sun will be shining. The mood will be good pre-game. We get a chance to see all the new boys. Kamara, if all goes to pot, just watch that boy, because I thought he's one of the only players that I felt could leave with his head held high post Bournemouth. I thought for a first game in the Premier League, he looked pretty sharp. And so Yeah, I think there's some inklings of positivity. Everton at home always produces something good. I think we have to respect a bit of a rebound. Obviously, they didn't really do much against Chelsea, but I suppose that's to be expected. I think, yeah, I think we can look forward to it, mate.
Well, you just still with a lot more optimism, and I'm now starting to second guess my pessimism before before we recorded, mate. And I think I just want to see. I want to see a game plan executed. I need and I think Gerrard needs this. Gerrard needs to win a game fairly convincingly by actually outwitting an opponent. None of this, I think I read Everton that they accumulated the most XG in game week 1, obviously. So it's a very small sample size, but they accumulated the most XG from set plays. And that's obviously a significant area of weakness. Now, if last season's anything to go by, Everton conceded, I think it was around the sort of 50% mark of their goals from set pieces. So I want to see that executed correctly. I want to see a system that's coherent. I want to, I want to see a balanced midfield. I think I'm asking for too much now, to be honest. Asking for a balanced Villa
One
midfield.
at a time, mate. One at a time.
I'm being so inconsiderate here, but I genuinely do not think that right now, as of right now, when we're recording this, mate, Steven Gerrard's job is in jeopardy. I do not think that. But I will caveat it with a ginormous but. I think if things continue the way they have been, and again, I don't want to get carried away because only one game in. I think if things continue as they have been, he's gone by the World Cup.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad take. You know what actually did worry me, mate, is that Stevie and everyone, no one's convinced by Frank Lampard at Everton.
Yeah.
But his record is on track to be about the same, if not better. He's played about 7 games less. And I think Stevie has 2 more wins. So give or take, they're on track to have about the same record as a manager from their time in England. And that was a bit alarming for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so I think obviously we showed a bit of patience to Dean Smith, and I think he probably stayed. I don't want to say longer than he was welcome. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I think the writing was on the wall for him a couple of games before he was sacked. And I think we will show similar patience, if not more, to Steven Gerrard. I think Purslow and the board will really want this one to work. And he will as well, because it puts a massive dent in his future aspirations. Obviously, we're not shying away from the fact that obviously he wants to go and manage Liverpool and everything like that. Everyone knows that will probably be his end goal. But if he gets sacked from his first job in the Premier League, that puts a massive dent in that. So obviously there's interest from all parties to make sure that this works out. And I still think it will. I think it's hard to not look at a man like Steven Gerrard and think that he's got the credentials to be a top manager. But you're right, mate. If there was a time to prove it, let's start Saturday at 12:30, please.
Yeah, you just need points on the board early doors. That's the thing. How look. I know we asked the question, when was the last time we went on our opening day, and people rightfully point out in the comments the 4 in a row, the lockdown year. That is a fantastic example of how important it is to get points on the doors early board, mate. Because we didn't win a game from the end of September till fucking March. We went nearly 3 months without winning a game. Which
we were
is
fine.
Yeah, exactly. That 12 points early doors genuinely helps. And I think what as well, I don't want to say worries me, but you look at, and I do think, we still predicted Fulham to go down, I'm fairly sure, but Fulham were really up for that game against Liverpool. They were really up for it. Newcastle obviously fairly convincingly, I want to say, beat Forest, but this, I think from 8th to 18th, it's going to be super tight. So you have to get points on the board, and against an Everton, again, a team who we both predicted to be down there, mate. Nothing less than 3 points is acceptable.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. I completely agree. And as I said, I think this mood in the fan base, it really needs a win. Just definitely not another defeat. Definitely not another defeat. If it's a draw, it's a draw, but we can't lose.
this is all forgotten if we win as well. That's the thing.
100%. That's my point.
And I do genuinely think, mate, that we go into this game, and I think for at least the first 10 minutes, the atmosphere is fairly positive. I think there is a big difference between what is said on Twitter and the sentiment that is felt in the ground towards the players, you know, every Saturday, 3:00, Villa Park. Villa Park is not by any means free of toxicity at all. It can be a vile place, and I understand it. But I do think there is quite a night and day between being in the grounds full time after the whistle's blown, win, draw or lose. Then the minute you check Twitter, even if you've won, it can be negative, or it's just ridiculous hyperbole about how we're going to get into. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the reality of the situation and the feelings of the individuals who are in the stand and supporting the team. Villa Park is a bit more forgiving than Villa Twitter is, I think, the point that I'm trying to make, in a very convoluted way. So, you know, I hope that sentiment carries through, and I hope that we're all behind the lads from the first kick to the last, because it does genuinely make a difference. It's cliche, but I think if we can really get behind the boys, get behind Stevie, then who knows what can happen, mate? Who knows what can happen? That's 100%. The beauty of the wonderful game. But I think that's probably a good note to end this podcast on. A lot of people asked about the FPL League. Now, as far as I'm aware, if you join, you don't get your
You'll be on zero.
You'll be on zero. So I'm going to put it in anyway. You guys, I mean, everyone will have forgotten about FPL by Christmas. So if you guys stick at it, there's a solid chance you can get within a shout. But I'll put a link in the description, and I'll put the code there if you guys want to join. And looking forward to see.
Yeah, if you win it.
Yeah, if you win it, we're giving away a shirt at the end of the season of your choice. So, I mean, if you fancy yourself at a 1 week disadvantage, there'll be double game weeks and all sorts. So, I think 1 week of 0 points, you're completely fine. There's no harm getting involved anyway. You're not losing anything per se. So yeah, make sure you guys get
a question,
involved.
mate. You're in fourth. If you win, do you get the shirt?
If I win, I get the shirt, but you have to buy it.
Deal. I'll take that.
No, obviously we'll give it away to whoever comes second. That'd be fixing an FPL league, mate. That's match fixing from the get-go, isn't it?
Well, I'm 16th at the moment, so I've got a big remontada coming. Although, to be fair, I'm looking at it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 6 people are waiting to be added after the next game week. So some people are doing it. So if you do fancy it, you're not alone. So the opportunity is there.
Looking forward to see who will be. It's going to be a weird one, actually, because we're not going to know. Actually, we'll probably record in the evening, I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a better idea from the first round of fixtures. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, hit a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more. Up the Villa.